Hello and welcome to the interview. Today I'm very pleased to host the President of the European Commission, Mr. Jean-Claude Juncker. Welcome to the programme.
Hello.
Very few people know Europe and the Eurozone as well as Mr. Juncker. For 18 years he was Prime Minister of Luxembourg, and for 8 years he headed the Eurogroup. That's the group of Eurozone finance ministers, and he was in that post at a crucial time when the Eurozone was negotiating and supervising bailouts for countries facing bankruptcy, such as Greece. He's now been President of the European Commission here in Brussels for the last 3 months. Mr. Juncker, I'd like to start with the Greek question. The Eurogroup meeting earlier this week didn't go very well, but there was suddenly a change, a new mood, an atmosphere at the European summit on Thursday. How did that change happen, and what was your role in it?
The explanation is that the president of the Eurogroup, Mr. Dijsselbloem, had a meeting with the Greek Prime Minister. I had phone calls with the Greek Prime Minister, and they were putting together some elements of a technical nature. We are far away from a deal. We are far away from what you could call a political compromise. But now we are taking under examine the substance of the divergences which may exist between the Eurogroup's opinions and the plans of the Greek government. This should have been done before the European summit. Now it will be done after the European summit in order to prepare the ground for the next meeting of the Eurogroup on next Monday.
How do you think this big gap between the sides, the two sides, is going to be bridged? I mean, concretely, what could a compromise actually look like next week? I
do really think that Greece needs a program, and we have a program. And so my favorite answer to your question would be to say that Greece should request a prolongation of the program, given the need they have to revisit a certain number of elements of the program. I do think that the deal could be made around a common sense idea, which means that those measures the Greek government wants to cut have to be replaced by other measures leading to the same fiscal amount than the measures the Greek government would like to cut.
In other words,
the budgetary balance is of paramount importance.
So in other words, really Greece, as far as you're concerned, can make changes internally as long as the result doesn't cost more money for the other members of the Eurozone.
That's exactly what I was saying. I would like to invite Greece to step away from taking unilateral measures. These measures have to be taken in agreement with the Eurogroup, and the new measures have to be introduced in agreement with the Eurogroup. But as far as the final result is concerned, the amounts have to be exactly the same.
Obviously, the next few days and weeks will be crucial because there's a deadline coming up for the end of February. Do you have any regrets about anything that you did when you were head of the Eurogroup? Is there anything that the Eurogroup today can learn from in negotiating some kind of settlement with Greece in the next few weeks?
I do think that the political authorities, that means the Commission and the Council on the form of the Eurogroup, have to take a more pronounced personal political interest in the exact components of the adjustment programs we are launching. This is not a matter for high civil servants. This is a matter for politicians. And the Troika, when negotiating with member states, the so-called program states, they are sending high civil servants to these capitals. This has to be done, but the negotiations have to take place between commissioners, ministers, and the political authorities of member states. It's not fair to have a prime minister sitting there like you are sitting there, and to have a high civil servant being his dialogue partner. That's not the way things should be done. And would we have had we done this, we would have avoided, I do think, a certain number of mistakes. So you think better communication
at a higher level, yes. Perhaps ministers going to Greece more often?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do think.
I want to come on to the question of your growth and investment plan for Europe, which is worth 315 billion euros, obviously crucial at a time of economic hardship in Europe. I know that you were discussing this with colleagues at the European Summit. What is the progress on that? As I understand, some key European nations have not yet contributed to this plan.
I would like, apart Germany, who did it, other governments contributing on a bilateral level to this plan, but even without national contribution, this plan is flying because it's entirely financed with new financial instruments and with some modest budgetary amounts and volumes from the European budget. What is essential to my view is that all the governments are agreeing on the basis that we need a virtuous triangle, meaning that, of course, budgetary consolidation is of the essence, that structural reforms are of paramount importance, and that we have to complete these two dimensions. Though these dimensions we were insisting on in recent years by a third dimension, which is growth and job-oriented investment. Everyone is agreeing on that basis because there are these three elements which are important to member states, and I have asked the European Investment Bank to identify the investment projects and not the Commission, because I do think that those who are closer to the real economy, those who know what banking is, they should do this job and not the Commission.
Essentially, you're confident then that you can achieve this growth and investment with existing instruments, even if you don't get more involvement from member states.
Germany provided 8 billion. If other larger member states would do the same, the success would be more immediate. But even if they don't, the plan will produce the results we do expect.
I want to move on to one other topic, which of course has been talked about a lot in your presidency of the European Commission. As you know, the European Parliament recently set up an inquiry to look into alleged tax avoidance in Luxembourg, which supposedly was happening while you were Prime Minister. Do you feel that this is overshadowing your presidency in a significant way?
Yes, it is, but I can't change that. This so-called LuxLeaks reflecting a phenomenon which does exist in all member states, including France, Britain, Germany, and we have seen in the European press that the same phenomena has been observed in the Netherlands, in Ireland, in Belgium, and so the European Parliament is in its perfect right to organize an inquiry in this by putting into place a special committee, and I do think that we have to organize in a more efficient way the fight against tax fraud and tax evasion. That's what I promised during the electoral campaign. That's what I said in July, not now, in July, when addressing the plenary of the European Parliament, and it has to be done, and it will be done.
Well, the Commission, of course, does have a proposal which is to make automatic the exchange of information between member states on cross-border tax rulings. But how do you enforce such an exchange of information?
That depends on the exact content of the directive. Commissioner Moscovici, in charge of taxation, will present to the College of Commissioners. It has to be made sure that this, how could I say, will not be empty words, but that these new provisions will be implemented in a way that a check system is put into place in parallel. It will be done because this is a matter of common interest. Multinational companies are using the divergences between the tax rules of the different member states. Member states amongst themselves don't know about the tax rules of neighboring member states, and so the multinational companies are the masters of the game. We have to be the masters of the game.
A couple of other points coming out of the summit. We don't have a lot of time, but just briefly, you welcomed the Minsk deal as excellent news, and you sounded a lot more optimistic, I have to say, than all your European counterparts at that summit. Why did you seem to be so positive about it.
No, I wasn't more positive than others, at least as far as the general atmosphere in the meeting room is concerned. It was exactly, we were all in the same mood. We welcomed this agreement. Imagine, just for 1 second, it would have failed. Then we would be in a totally different situation today. I do think that we have to give a chance to this agreement. We have to believe that it works. If it doesn't, then we have to change our policy.
One final point about Britain's relationship with Europe, and particular Mr. Cameron's relationship with you. Did you discuss his plans for trying to change the European Treaty as part of a new settlement between Britain and Europe? What did you say to him about that issue at the European Summit?
When I was campaigning back in March, April, May, I always advocated a fair deal for Britain. I didn't invent that formula. After the elections, when Britain was opposing my candidature, I was announcing this months before the election. I want Britain to stay in the European Union, because the European Union would not be complete without Britain, and I don't think that Britain would be stronger without its membership in the European Union. So we have to take under exam the list of the British requests. We have to make our own proposals. This has to be discussed with Britain in a very fair way, and then we'll see where the intersection of British views and of other European views can be found.
Okay, we'll have to end it there. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you.
Mr. Jean-Claude Juncker, President of the European Commission, and thank you to you for watching.